tuổi thôi đúng không? Em tên là Diệp.
Em ơi, phải lo nữa cho em ơi. Thì em là người giúp việc ở đây, em ở nhà.
Còn mẹ của không được đi ra.
Con cứ đưa Diệp về đi.
Đang đi làm đấy.
Tại vì em cũng thấy mình khỏe rồi, với lại không được đi làm việc cũng thấy buồn buồn.
Everything had been peaceful in James and Deep's life. After difficult times, the two of them finally found balance and happiness in their love. James, a young and talented CEO, was always busy managing his company, while Deep, a gentle and simple girl, was always by his side as a steady source of support. They shared everything in life, from busy mornings to quiet late nights when James returned home, and they cooked dinner together. Their life seemed perfect, and nothing could disrupt their happiness. But then, one day, everything started to change when Trang, James' old schoolmate, suddenly appeared. Trang was a girl who had studied with James during their high school years. In James' memories, she was always someone to be pitied. Back then, Trang had been relentlessly bullied by her classmates, which left her feeling lonely and insecure. While many others turned a blind eye or distanced themselves, James was the only one who stood up for her. He didn't hesitate to confront his group of friends to help her escape the bullying, helping her regain her self-confidence. Their relationship at that time was nothing more than friendship, but for Trang, James' act of bravery left a deep impression. She could never forget how he had been there for her, and in her heart, James had always been someone special. But Trang's life didn't end there. After graduation, she left her hometown to continue her studies and search for opportunities in the city. However, no matter where she went or what she did, she could never forget James, the person who had once been her savior. Time passed, and the memories faded, but her feelings for him never changed, they remained constant. Trang's return was not a mere coincidence. After years of being away, she decided to come back to the city to seek new opportunities. This time, however, she didn't just come to work, she also wanted to get closer to James, the man she had always regarded as special in her life. With a 15-day trial position at James' company, Trang would take on the role of advising on paint color palettes and supporting the company in finding creative solutions for clients. This was an opportunity Trang couldn't pass up, not just for her career but also to be closer to James, the one she truly admired and was grateful for. From the first meeting at the company, Trang didn't hesitate to show her closeness to James. Their conversations weren't just about work, they often drifted into reminiscing about old times. Trang always skillfully brought up the moments when James protected her during school, the times she felt abandoned, and how James had been the only one by her side. She also didn't miss the chance to talk about how her life had changed after leaving the city, as if trying to prove that she had grown and was now worthy of having a place in James' life. However, James didn't realize the underlying meanings in Trang's approach. To him, Trang was just an old friend, a new colleague at the company. He remained polite and friendly but never crossed any boundaries. Still, in Trang's eyes, James could sense a subtle difference, a deeper interest that went beyond mere friendship. This made James feel uneasy as he found himself facing a change in Trang's attitude. He couldn't deny that she had made a strong impression on him, but he also didn't want the past to interfere with his current relationship. Trang didn't only try to approach James through work, she also paid special attention to every detail of his life. She constantly asked about the projects James was working on, sometimes even suggesting new ideas for the company. She knew this was her way to become an important part of James' life and perhaps a way to pull him away from his current commitments. This feeling, this attraction between Trang and James, caused the atmosphere at the company and between the three of them to become more tense than ever before. After work at the company, James was not just a busy CEO with business plans, he was also someone deeply concerned with sustainable development. One of the projects he had been most passionate about lately was the pilot program for a new rice variety in rural areas. He believed that long-term, meaningful economic growth must begin with agriculture, the root of people's livelihoods. Introducing and testing a new rice variety was not only a scientific advancement but also a test of trust between enterprises and farmers. James shared with local officials and farmers that this new rice variety was the result of years of research and selection. Its standout features included fast growth, good resistance to pests and diseases, and a predicted yield significantly higher than traditional varieties. Looking at how it's growing now, I see great potential in this variety. The plants are taller, the grains are uniform, the leaves are a healthy green, and the heading stage happened right on schedule. If cultivation follows the proper techniques, achieving a superior yield is entirely possible, James remarked during a field survey. However, not everyone is ready to accept something new, especially in agriculture, where farmers have practiced traditional methods for generations. James admitted that the hardest part of the project wasn't putting the rice into the soil, but rather planting trust in the hearts of the farmers. He said, "When I first brought this variety here, not only the farmers but even I had doubts. How do you convince them to abandon what they've always known for something uncertain?" Initially, many farming households were hesitant, even refusing to participate. They feared failure would ruin the harvest and hurt their family's livelihood. James understood those worries. To address them, he didn't resort to lofty speeches or pressure but chose to walk alongside them. He personally visited each household, listened to their concerns, explained the cultivation process thoroughly, and promised full technical support throughout the trial period. One critical point James emphasized was that the cultivation technique must evolve alongside the new variety. He warned against the excessive use of harsh chemical pesticides, as they could weaken the plant's natural immunity and lead to more susceptibility to pests. Instead, he recommended using biological products or mild pesticides, paired with clean farming practices like thorough soil preparation, early weed control, and proper moisture management. We're not just growing rice, we're growing safety for our own health and for future generations, he told them sincerely, causing many to begin reconsidering. After nearly 2 months of sowing, the early results were surprisingly positive. The test field showed impressive development, sturdy stalks, full grains, and noticeably fewer pests than traditional varieties. This shift prompted previously hesitant farmers to become curious and eager, asking James how to expand the model. Overjoyed, James shared with local officials, "This is more than a win for the rice variety, it's a step forward in how people think about farming." Once farmers see results, they begin to trust and are more willing to embrace innovation. And that's what I truly hope for, bringing knowledge closer to real life. For James, this project was not merely part of his job, it was a chance to help improve people's lives. He understood the road ahead would be long and challenging, but the hopeful eyes of the farmers and the lush green fields today were all the motivation he needed to keep going. The sky was dimming as the last rays of sunlight faded behind rows of bamboo trees. Deep sat in her small room, her hands still faintly scented with plum resin. She had just returned from a long day of picking plums in the hills and then selling them at the local market. Though the plums didn't bring in much money, every small amount she saved held great value for Deep. It was all for her dream of continuing her education and building a better future. She sat down on an old wooden chair by the window, picked up her phone, and called James, the one person who always warmed her heart after a hard day. The phone hadn't rung for long before the other side picked up. James's voice was slightly hoarse, still carrying a hint of illness. "I'm here, Deep." She smiled, knowing that James had only recently recovered from being sick. Her voice was gentle but tinged with joy. "I just wanted to tell you about my day. I went up the hill to pick plums again, then took some to the market to sell. I made a little money, enough to set aside for the advanced course I'm planning to take." James paused for a moment. He knew Deep was always hardworking and determined, but his heart still ached. He himself hadn't fully recovered from being sick, and yet the girl he loved was still out there braving the scorching sun and the crowded market to earn money. "Deep, you're still not fully recovered from your cold. Why are you pushing yourself with such heavy work? You know plum picking isn't easy, climbing hills, carrying heavy loads, then sitting in the market for hours. If you won't think of yourself, at least think about your health." She gave a soft chuckle. "I'm fine. I'm used to it. I just think simply, while I'm still young and able, I should work hard. Once I've studied properly, I'll have better opportunities. I don't want to depend on anyone, not even you. I want to be worthy of our love." James went silent for a few seconds. A mix of pride and concern swelled inside him. He loved her strength, her honesty, her dreams that sparkled in her clear eyes. But he didn't want her to trade her future for constant exhaustion. "Silly girl. I know how strong you are, but do you know what hurts me the most? It's seeing you worn out, seeing you force a smile while carrying the weight of the world. You don't have to prove anything. To me, you're already amazing." Deep bit her lip. His words flowed like a soothing breeze, easing the weariness in her heart. Her voice grew soft. "I'm just afraid that one day, you'll get tired of me, of the burdens I carry. I don't want to be someone who drags you down." James sighed, then said slowly, each word resonating with sincerity. "Deep, don't say that anymore. If I had to choose again, I would still choose to love you, love your struggles, love these quiet evenings where I get to hear you talk about your life. Don't shoulder everything alone. I'm here now, and we'll walk this path together." Then he paused for a moment, before gently adding, "No frills, just genuine emotion. I love you." Those words made Deep's heart soften. Through all her lonely days, no one had ever spoken to her so tenderly. She knew James wasn't just saying it, he showed it through every gesture, every worried glance, every quiet moment where he just listened to her talk about life. "I love you too," she whispered, her eyes turning toward the sky where the first stars had begun to twinkle. Outside, a light breeze drifted through the window, carrying the scent of ripe plums, of earth, and of truth. Their love, simple and humble, was a steady anchor to help them weather whatever storms lay ahead. The story of Deep and James is a touching portrayal of love, resilience, and sacrifice. Deep, a humble girl with a difficult past, works tirelessly to support herself and pursue her dreams of higher education. Despite her hardships, she remains optimistic and determined, never allowing her struggles to define her. Her love for James is genuine and selfless. She doesn't want to be a burden, only someone worthy of standing by his side. James, on the other hand, is a caring and thoughtful man who deeply values Deep for who she is. He understands her pain, admires her strength, and encourages her to take better care of herself. His love is quiet yet powerful, grounded not in grand gestures but in deep emotional connection. When he tells her "I love you," it isn't just romantic, it's a promise of support and understanding. Their relationship reflects the essence of true love, not always easy or perfect, but rooted in respect, empathy, and mutual growth. It's a beautiful reminder that love isn't about saving someone, but walking beside them as they fight their own battles. In a world full of superficial connections, their story is a rare and sincere testament to enduring affection.